Now let us center ourselves in this sacred time and space as Colleen plays Invocation by Alban Forster.
Good morning. Welcome to First UQ. My name is Jack. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm wearing a light gray t-shirt. This is your first time here, or your third, or your 50th. We welcome you. Let us begin by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Neoconska people, known sometimes by the name Osage. The descendants of the people who were forcibly removed from this land by colonists make up the Osage Nation. We acknowledge their continued struggle for justice. The chalice lighting words are by Reverend Michelle Collins. As you light this chalice with its freely shared light and freely shared warmth, let us be reminded of the many things that are freely shared with us and that we freely share with others. May you lean into generosity shared from the heart that can warm those around us. The chalice lighter in the sanctuary is Reverend Michelle Collins.
Hi, my name's Eileen. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm a mid-60s woman with blonde hair and a green dress on. The opening words are "When Giving is All We Have" by Alberto Rios. One river gives the journey to the next. We give because someone gave to us. We give because nobody gave to us. We give because giving has changed us. We give because giving could have changed us. We have been better for it. We have been wounded by it. Giving has many faces. It is loud and quiet, big though small, diamond and wood nails. Its story is old, the plot worn, and the pages too. But we read this book anyway, over and over again. Giving is first and every time hand to hand. Mine to yours, yours to mine. You gave me blue and I gave you yellow. Together we are simple green. You gave me what you did not have and I gave you what I had to give. Together we made something greater from the difference. Our song for the month of July is the Jet Pig song. We'll sing it with the same video as last week, so that the young and young at heart can follow along with the motions. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit to sing. Okay. Right.
What makes you a true human? Love and the core. We come into work as a team to make our values more than a dream. Just with yourselves, we make money. Six Justice means we make things fair. We both speak up and act with care. It's where everyone gets what they need for. Friends with things we change. We can stay. What makes you a true you? What you do? We come to work as a team to make our values more than a dream. So let's keep it on. The world is a place round the city. Things not just into it's but anything so what makes you a true you? Love at the core of what you do. We come into work as a team to make our values dream. Self-human mind. Six. Human mind. Six.
My name is Roberta, and I'm a woman of a certain age. Offering our gifts to support the work of building inclusive and just communities is one of the many ways that we live into justice and equity together. Some of us have much to give, and some have little. Together, it is enough. We are enough. To work together, we're a world where every human can live into their best and most authentic self. If electronic giving is your preferred method, or if you are on Zoom, virtual giving options are available via our website, springfielduu.org. The offering today is Sun Shower by Kristen Allred, performed by Colleen.
Good morning. I think Ray might have some ballet experience that we didn't know about. I am Reverend Michelle Scott Huffman. My pronouns are she, her. I am the minister here at First UU and happy to be with you today. Throughout this summer, we will be spending some time with the new UU values. That whole jet pig thing we just did is a tool to help us learn those values, justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. And so, although throughout the past year we have engaged with those for a month at a time, now that it has been a part of the kind of official canon of Unitarian Universalism, we are committed to using this summer to thinking just 1 week for each value about what that particular value calls us to as individuals and as a congregation. And so today, I chose generosity as the value. You might be thinking, well, that's not the J at the beginning of jet pig. I chose generosity for 2 reasons. One of them was that we had some hard conversations last week. And I think that generosity gives us a little bit of a lighter entry place. And I've been listening to a lot of the Buddha's teachings around how generosity has to come first. And so we're starting this exploration for this summer with the value generosity. We come to this idea of generosity today to imagine how we would live this out in our own lives and together communally as a congregation. And we come to it with our own questions. Of the various definitions of generosity out there, I most appreciate those listed at dictionary.com, which include readiness or liberality in giving, with synonyms bountifulness and munificence, and the antonym stinginess. It's the antonyms that I most like about this definition. Freedom from meanness or smallness of mind or character, with synonyms nobleness and magnanimity, and the antonym pettiness. Other definitions include a generous act or largeness or fullness, amplitude. The UAA Article 2 revision description of gratitude says, we cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, our presence, and our resources. Our generosity connects to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. Reverend Dr. Sherry Prudhomme has written a theological reflection on each of the 6 values that we've been talking about. And as we talk about those in depth, we'll look at what she has to say about each one. About generosity, she writes, in a theological framework which understands that this world is the locus of the holy, that struggle and salvation are present here now, and that all life is sacred and interconnected, generosity, gratitude, and hope are ways that we honor these truths and the blessings of our lives. More than in any writings of theologians, we know this value as central to our theological heritage through the lives of Universalists, Unitarians, and Unitarian Universalists through the centuries. Though I could choose from thousands of stories, she writes, here are a few. Unitarian poet, essayist, and novelist Frances Ellen Watkins Harper's tireless work for abolition, temperance, and civil rights, for the rights of women and children. Annie Bissell Jordan Willis' career in education, a teacher who carried on as the principal of the Universalist-founded Suffolk Normal School in Virginia after the death of her father, the Universalist minister Joseph Fletcher Jordan, educating hundreds of Black children through decades when they were denied education in Virginia's public schools. Unitarian minister Waitstill Sharp and his wife Martha's efforts in 1939 and 1940, providing food and a means of escape for thousands of Jews, intellectuals, and children in Prague, Lisbon, and southern France. Our tradition is brimming with stories of countless men, women, non-binary, and trans people of all cultural backgrounds who have given generously of themselves in service to others in large and small ways. In practicing generosity, gratitude, and active hope, we experience our interconnectedness. The ways we are not isolated beings, but held in a vast web of connections and field of life, blessed by gifts beyond our own making. The stories that she tells of those generous people in our particular history are not just stories of generosity, of course. They are stories of courage, of wisdom, of commitment, and of many other things. But is it possible that the underlying value of generosity helps those other characteristics show up in our lives in word and deed? As I made reference to earlier, it is said that the Buddha insisted on generosity first, before those practicing could even get to meditation and other important facets of Buddhist practice. Of this sequence, Nikki Murgafori writes, "When I started on the path of Buddhist practice, I was mainly interested in meditation. To my novice ears, other teachings sounded less relevant or interesting. I vaguely remember hearing a Dharma talk that the Buddha had emphasized the practice of generosity for lay folks such as myself. In the trilogy of meritorious deeds, he first and foremost taught generosity, or dana, which in Pali connotes the act of giving and what is given. Only after the practitioner appreciated this teaching did the Buddha proceed to teach ethics and mental cultivation. It was the latter that I was jumping into," she says, "head, not heart, first." She goes on to say generosity supports insight into the three characteristics of existence. Practicing generosity provides insight into impermanence. Things come and things go. Nothing is for me to keep, to hang on to. Holding on to things with a sense of scarcity creates more lack, more unsatisfactoriness, more suffering. And in true generosity, we see that there is no separation between the giver, the receiver, and what is given. In preparation for today's message, I was reading the book Infectious Generosity by Chris Anderson this week. Chris Anderson has been the curator of TED, like TED Talks, since 2001, and his TED mantra is ideas worth spreading. His mantra, though, continues to blossom on an international scale with some 3 billion TED Talks viewed annually. But when Anderson came into the TED Talk world, all he could think about was how to give it away. Not how to make money, not how to build this huge organization or corporation that was kind of hoarding all of the resources that were coming by this real interest in these conferences where people come together to listen to these short talks from people who are kind of experts in different fields, where this sort of cross-pollination is happening in those spaces. It's a really beautiful thing. And beautiful things were happening at the TED conferences. And all he could ask was, how do we make this available to more and more people? And so his idea was that you just give it away, that they would give the TED name to organizations and different people who were trying to organize TED conferences. They call them TEDx conferences. And that in doing that, the concept has spread far beyond his wildest imaginations. And so in this book, Infectious Generosity, he starts out talking about the idea of infectiousness with regard to the COVID-19 pandemic. I think the word infectious has a different connotation for us now than it did maybe 5 years ago. But as a way of helping us to think about how strongly infectious a thing can be, he starts there, but he doesn't stay there. He moves to tell us that all human behavior is infectious, and that our acts of generosity will spread to other people who will copy our behaviors, and it will have this ripple effect that goes beyond anything that we might have imagined with our first act of generosity. Anderson saw the power of generosity at work as he developed the TED brand, and they gave away the branding and the tools to make these conferences possible. And what he had to say about that was, you want your moral principles to be widely accepted. You want to share this gift that you're giving to the world and have lots of people receive it. And by letting go of control of those TED events, they have done things that we never could have imagined. Citing TEDx events in prisons, on college campuses, and in parts of the world that TED, as a centralized hierarchical organization, may never have gotten to. Every one of us has a part to play in spreading infectious generosity. We can be generous financially. We can share our time, our knowledge, our attention, our skills, and more. It's the cultivation of a generous mindset that Chris Anderson believes will transform our individual actions into viral giving. And he talks about the internet as a tool in that process. He says that we are in a place now where thoughts and ideas can be freely given away and shared more widely than ever before with no additional cost. And so he talks about if you were recording a talk or a church service or something like that, maybe even just 20 some years ago, that you would have burned a CD or a DVD after the event, and every one of those CDs or DVDs would have cost a couple of dollars. You might have had to mail them to people, costing another $1 or so. And so if you wanted to spread an idea or a talk and share that information, with 100 people, you might be talking about $300 and a considerable amount of time. Whereas with the power of the connectedness we have through the internet today, you can share that file once and it can be shared with millions of people instantaneously. He says we have never been in a place to share as freely and as fully as we are right now. Incidentally, his book is not free. I found that interesting, but everybody's got to make a living, right? So here are some of the inspiring stories that Chris Anderson has told. Street artist Mundano painted 200 carrocas, trash carts, to bring visibility to the catadores, trash collectors, wheeling them through the streets of Sao Paulo. His hashtag was Pimp My Carroca. And it started a movement where 1,000 donors and 800 volunteers provided funds and health care for the catadores across Brazil. It's so easy to start a campaign that can raise awareness of a need that nobody really knew about. At 99 years old, Sir Captain Tom Moore set off to walk 100 laps of his garden to raise money for England's National Health Service. His courage went viral. By the time he crossed the finish line, the public had donated 32 million pounds to the hashtag Walk with Tom. Korean band BTS and their fans, known as BTS Army, collaborate around their shared commitment to alleviate suffering. After the band's $1 million donation to Black Lives Matter, BTS Army matched it in just 24 hours with the hashtag #MatchAMillion. Joshua Combs traveled the world offering haircuts to homeless people to share their unheard stories. His hashtag do something for nothing philosophy has turned into a 150,000 person social movement, doing something for nothing. Matthew Burrows, during the pandemic, started the hashtag Artist Support Pledge that invited artists to purchase works of art for one another. And when they had received £1,000 for what they had sold to other artists, they were encouraged to spend 200 of those pounds to support other artists. That particular campaign has raised 70 million pounds for artists around the world. John Sweeney reinvented an Italian tradition and used social media to inspire coffee lovers to buy an extra one to pass on to a stranger. Hashtag Suspended Coffee has promoted 2,000 cafes in 34 countries doing that same thing. In several instances, Chris Anderson has freely picked a group of people and given each of them $1,000 with no strings attached. And people have said, are you crazy? They're going to be selfish with it. They're going to do stupid things with it. They can't be trusted with it. And he tells the story of over and over again being contacted by the recipients of that $1,000 gift and told of the way that they spent that money to invest in a charity that they deeply believed in. And many times after they had been able to invest in that charity, they followed that investment with their own volunteer hours. And so that particular financial investment became an investment of their own life energy into the work of a particular charity and continued to grow from there. There is no limit to the extent to which generosity can be infectious. And I think it was with much wisdom that the folks who put together the Article 2 revision in the Unitarian Universalist world included generosity. So I want to think for just a minute about generosity as a practice for us. What does that mean? I think first it means giving and receiving welcome. All of us respond best in hospitable spaces. And sometimes when we come into a space that's a common shared space, we're sort of all wrapped up in our own stuff and trying to get what we need, which we all have to do, and maybe not spending as much time being hospitable to the people around us. And so that kind of generosity, the generosity of spirit that sees someone, that recognizes someone you haven't seen for a while, that causes you to come up and say hello, that causes you to ask someone how they've been. That's generosity in practice. And then there's the generosity of helping one another. We have a wonderful pastoral care circle in this church and a wonderful group of people who are always paying attention to the needs of the people around them and bringing that to the attention of the circle so that we can reach out and provide the care that folks need, whether it's a meal, a ride, someone to just sit at your bedside or help to clean your house or whatever it might be. All of these things are within our power as a community to help one another with. So being generous and helping one another. Chris Anderson says the equation for giving and receiving is asymmetrical. The benefit to the receiver is very often far greater than the cost to the giver. So what might cost us an hour of our time could drastically change someone else's experience of healing after a surgery or something like that. Being generous in our finances, our financial giving, both to the church and to causes. You all have shown up over and over again to support financially and with your volunteer time and all kinds of supplies for the crisis cold weather shelters and other kinds of work that we were doing as a community. Also in supporting, like I said, this congregation and the wider denomination, our theological schools within Unitarian Universalism, where the The leaders of the future church are being formed and trained, investing in the work of the denomination as well as our local church, so that Unitarian Universalism continues to be alive and well, not just here, but all over the place, in places where it is greatly needed. And then there's the practice of being generous in what we're willing to receive. So back a while ago, I was a church planter, and I had a person who was the greatest gift in the world to me. He, for all intents and purposes, was an associate minister, but nobody could pay either one of us, so it didn't really matter what the title was. But he was an IT guy. And he used to say to me, Michelle, I think of our relationships in the church the way that I think in IT of what we call the robustness principle, a design guideline for software that states be conservative in what you do and liberal in what you accept from others. So careful with the way that we communicate with others, paying attention to the sort of needs and boundaries and things like that, and also liberal in what we will receive. This connects a little bit with what we were talking about last week with that whole assume best intentions, right? We will get a whole lot further in this world if we will do that. And so it is that by following just those practices, we will practice the kind of generosity in this congregation that will be infectious. It can't not be infectious, both through the kind of personal interactions that we all have, and also through the power of the connectedness of the internet. When we share those stories, when there's a hashtag that someone can hook onto and pay attention to, and a movement can start to form around something. And as we live into generosity, we can practice gratitude daily for the kinds of generosity that we're seeing being enacted around us. We can engage in acts of service more often because we know more about the service needs that are out there, because our friends are talking to us about the places they're volunteering and the places that they're giving financially to, and all of those things. And we can foster generous relationships. And I think that is so needed in our world right now. I think that generosity in relationships, not in close personal relationships, but in our more casual acquaintance relationships with, if we can inject generosity into those as a lived value, we're going to change the tone and the temperature of the world around us. As we face global challenges such as economic inequality, climate change, and social injustices, the need for generosity is more pressing now than ever. Generosity is a cornerstone of our faith, deeply embedded in our theological heritage and practices. It is not simply about the act of giving, but embodies a spirit of abundance, connection, and interdependence. As individuals and as a congregation, living into this value can transform our lives and our community in profound ways. Let us embrace generosity in all its forms, knowing that through our giving and receiving, we honor the sacredness of life and strengthen the bonds of our beloved community. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. Today, we are excited to be able to celebrate a new member welcome. That's a part of the kind of ritual of this gathered community. So it's not a private thing that people do where they say, I want to join the church, and we just kind of do a little thing off to the side, but it's a thing that's at the center of our experience together as a community. So I want to invite our membership chair, Babs, to come join me up here.
Well, good morning. I'm Babs. I am a 40-something-year-old person, got short brown hair, I'm wearing glasses, and a Midwest Leadership School tie-dye. Yeah, representing the UUA groups there. Yes, and thank you, Michelle. As Reverend A. Powell Davies wrote in that joining the church such as ours means essentially three things. You are in fundamental sympathy with the principles of freedom and reason in religion and life. This is the basis for our creedless church. You commit yourself to the importance of an organized religious fellowship. Ideas and ideals must have a vehicle and embodiment in the world. People who think and work together for their values and for those values they believe have a better chance of achieving them than people who don't. And you accept the responsibilities that go with membership in any human community. Within the limits of your ability and in line with your personal choice, you are ready to give energy, time, and money and best thought to furthering the ideas that you prize. Practicing that generosity.
Today, we are pleased to recognize two individuals who have recently completed the process of becoming a member for the first time of our congregation at First UU. These individuals have completed an orientation through what we call Pathways to Membership, a build your own curriculum process, and are ready to sign the membership book. So I would invite Veronica Lee and Neil Richardson Sr. to the front. And in addition to these two new members, today we welcome back into membership two former members of the congregation, Tina Ballhorn and Paul Ferris. Please join us up here.
You can just see. That way I can just look one direction as I'm talking to you guys. It's a little easier. By becoming a member of a Unitarian Universalist Church community, you join all of us in accepting responsibility for the welfare and extension of liberal religion and affirming the principles of Unitarian Universalism. You bring to the church your unique talents, energy, and conviction, and your financial support, knowing that our community will prosper as we invest ourselves in it. I will ask now that the members of the congregation stand as you're willing and able to, or enter into a posture that you prefer. And after the affirmation by our new members, I invite the congregation to read the response together, and the words will be posted on the screen for you.
And the AV person right now is wondering where that slide is because someone didn't put it in the slide deck. So I will prompt you the words that you will share. But first, our affirmation of intent for our friends here. I offer my commitment to this church community, to all its members and children, and to the mission of the congregation and the guiding principles of Unitarian Universalism. I offer the energy of my heart, my mind, and my hands that we may all grow in spirit, in hope, and in understanding. Do you affirm to uphold this commitment? If so, please respond with, I do. Excellent. And congregation, I will ask you a similar question. We, the members of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Springfield, honor and celebrate your decision to join our common search and become a part of our beloved community. Your presence here will enrich us, and your offer of yourself encourages us all toward a life of greater wholeness. We covenant with you and with each other to honor the basic principles of mutual respect and service. We understand that by you joining with us, our community is forever changed, and here and now, we embrace you as a part of us. So friends in the congregation, if you are willing to covenant in that way with these friends, please say, I do. And then with a great cheer, say, welcome to First UU.
Oh, you're getting a photo op here. Thank you. Yeah. You gotta pause for the photo op. That's That's awesome. Thank you. So on behalf of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Springfield, it is my pleasure to extend you a warm welcome. This is a happy occasion for all of us, and we know that your presence will enrich our beloved community. We offer a small gift to honor and commemorate your decision to join us, and we will invite you to join or to sign the First UU membership book. I also want to announce that there have been several cohorts of new members in the last few years who have not been able to sign the book due to the pandemic, and then the book being somewhere unknown. Always in the same, it was in this building, let's just say that. But if you've not signed that book and you were here today, we would like for you to be able to sign after the service. So we'll leave the space available for you. And I think that that'll be nice to finally get those names in there. It's a very official act. And the small gift that we have for you, another thing is I don't have some of the name tags. Some folks have those name tags for our members who are coming back, but the others will have official name tags. Hopefully very soon. Thank you. Get the mug. Thank you. Now, united as one beloved community, let us be about the great work that we share, and join us for cupcakes after the service. Thank you.
Good to see our best son.
Ray, you want to come here and just dance in between?
No.
At the end of our service, we will do our kind of closing words, but we will leave this chalice lit for a while as our other friends who need to sign the book come and sign the membership book, because it is a sacred act and a part of the time of our community together. For those of you who may be interested in membership at First UU, as I mentioned, there is a process. You can go on the website and look for, I think it says get involved, and down on that menu is something called Pathways to Membership. We've called it a bingo card. It's not a bingo card. There aren't the right number of spots, and there's no, prize and stuff like that. But it's sort of a create your own curriculum to learn about Unitarian Universalism and about this local community, to try some things out and to get engaged in ways that as you become a member, you're doing that as an informed choice. And you really already know that you want to be in covenant with this group of people. And so we would invite you to check that out. Also, members of the membership committee, Babs, Kay, Ray, and myself would be happy to talk to you anytime about what it means to be a member at First UU. And now I'm going to sit down. And we'll bring Dacia up on the screen to lead us in our joys and concerns. We are dropping stones today. So if there are people who are young or young at heart who would like to come up and drop the stones for the joys and concerns, we would invite you to do that.
My name is Dacia. I am a fair-haired woman in my mid-70s. My hair is short. I wear glasses, and my pronouns are she and her. This morning, I'm wearing a pale yellow polo shirt and rainbow earrings. As a community, we share joys and concerns to keep connected. Slips of paper are available at the greeters table for those in the sanctuary to use for joys and concerns. During the week, you may send your joys and concerns by email to pastoralcare@springfielduu.org, or by leaving a voicemail on the church phone, 417-888-883-3922. If you're on Zoom, please use the chat box now for sharing your joys and concerns. All of these joys and concerns will be included in the members' email on Tuesday. We honor each joy or concern with a stone dropped in a shared bowl of water, representing the ripple effect in all of our lives. This morning, the young at heart or the young will be dropping stones for us. And now, as we begin this time of sharing, know that though we are in multiple physical spaces, we are together in beloved community. To begin, we hold in love, all of us, those present and those absent. We drop a stone for our church community. And from Reverend Michelle, let us hold in our hearts the family of the spectator killed by gunfire at yesterday's political rally in Pennsylvania, as well as former President Trump, who was injured by gunfire. May we all continue to work toward a nation where civil discourse is possible and where our disagreement doesn't rise to the level of violence. We drop a stone of concern for those personally impacted and for our nation. From Jane, a joy for Barbara Watson, who is recovering nicely after the surgery on her ear and head. She should be home today. Are there written joys or concerns in the sanctuary? Hearing none in the sanctuary. Thank you. We honor the complex and heartbreaking struggles of our world. We drop a stone for all who are impacted. And in closing, for the joys and concerns that remain unspoken, we drop a stone. May we hold each of these in our hearts and minds. May our community of love ease sorrow and boost celebration. While we are in multiple physical spaces, we still share space together here in intentional community. And now let us join together in 1 minute of shared silence, followed by Spirit of Life.
My name is Tina Ballhorn and my pronouns are she and her. I am an older woman with silver hair and a teal colored dress. Our closing words are from Eric Williams. May you be filled with the blessings of this covenanted community. May you carry them with you as you depart from here. May you discover the places in the world where these blessings are needed. May you have the courage to share them. May there be an open place within you to receive the blessings of the people whom you will meet along the way. Our final hymn today is We Would Be One, number 318 in the gray hymnal. Feel free to stand if you like and sing.
Friends, thank you for being here today. Don't hesitate to move over into that part of the church where coffee and fellowship happen. And in the spirit of generosity, I would invite you to introduce yourself to someone you don't know before you leave this place today. And as I said, we're going to leave the chalice going until our friends who are signing the book have finished that. But for those at home who may be extinguishing their chalices, we do extinguish those at this time. And I would invite you all to join me in our unison closing words once they appear on the screen. Our service here is ending. Our service to the world begins anew.